villager's house. I wonder what's inside. Oh, hi there, Mr. Villager. Do you have anything to trade with me? Oh, you do? Oh my god!
Here are some of the funniest fake Minecraft speedruns ever recorded. This speedrun starts right next to a village, as we can see a villager's house right next to them. So the first thing the speedrunner does is go into the village and start stealing all of the crops from the villagers. Now that the speedrunner has a decent amount of food, they then head over to the blacksmith. They open the door and inside the chest is some normal loot, like a piece of iron, 3 emeralds, a saddle, and a revolver. Last time I checked, there weren't guns inside of Minecraft, but I could have just missed an update. Well, the speedrunner takes this very legit loot out of the chest and leaves the blacksmith. They begin showing off their very cool looking revolver, which honestly looks pretty big. The speedrunner then runs around a little bit until they suddenly pick up a stone pickaxe. The stone pickaxes don't just randomly spawn on the ground like that. So I feel like the speedrunner just went inside of Creative and placed down the pickaxe before the speedrun even started. The speedrunner then finds a patch of gravel and they begin mining it. But the speedrunner just doesn't have dream luck, so they get no gravel. So they have to place down more gravel and then break it until they eventually get a flint. They then use that flint and the iron that they got from the blacksmith to make themselves a flint and steel. Now that the speedrunner has a flint and steel, they go down the mountain some more until they find this weirdly looking square, which actually kinda looks like a door. The speedrunner breaks directly in the middle, and that's when they find a nether portal, which for some reason is already lit, which means that the speedrunner didn't even need to make themselves a flint and steel in the first place. Well, the speedrunner goes into the portal. Now that the speedrunner is in the nether, they look around for a little bit until they find a fortress, which means that the speedrunner got a pretty lucky nether spawn. The speedrunner then tries building up, but a piglin tries to stop them. But the speedrunner is too good at PvP and kills the piglin, which drops a golden sword. The speedrunner finds this weirdly dug out hole, so they drop down into it, which leads them right to the fortress. Not only that, but there's also a chest in the fortress. The speedrunner opens the chest and finds a shield, an iron sword, an iron chestplate, and iron leggings, which are all things that typically do not spawn inside of fortresses. Well, either way, the speedrunner takes all of that loot and begins to explore deeper inside of the fortress. Eventually, the speedrunner finds a blaze, so they just kill the blaze, but there's also a spawner here. But blaze spawners don't just randomly spawn inside of fortresses, so I think that the speedrunner just placed down this spawner here. Well, either way, the speedrunner kills the blazes, but then a random cut happens, and the speedrunner suddenly loses an entire level, and all of their items are mixed around, which leads me to believe that the speedrunner died, but just simply cut it out to make it look like they actually didn't die. The speedrunner tries to kill some more blazes, but they are running low on food very fast, so they begin making their way back towards the portal, and that's when they just simply leave the nether. Now that the speedrunner is back in the overworld, they go around the village a lot trying to look for some food, and that's when they find some pigs inside of a pen, so they just start killing them and eating their food. But wait, I just realized that the speedrunner somehow has 11 blaze rods. But if you look at the footage from before, the speedrunner definitely did not have 11 blaze rods, which means at some point during the speedrun, they must have given themselves some blaze rods when no one was looking. But this is also when the speedrunner opens up their inventory and we can see that they have tons of ender pearls. But not once inside of the speedrun did we ever see them gain any ender pearls, so I'm honestly very confused. The speedrunner then turns their blaze rods into blaze powder and makes themselves some eyes of ender. But instead of throwing the eyes of ender like a normal speedrunner would inside the situation, they instead start traversing down a mountain. They then grab some hay. They also look directly into the eyes of this enderman, but for some reason the enderman just didn't attack them. The speedrunner then finds a giant cave, so they jump down into some water. They then 1v1 this creeper until it blows up, and the speedrunner finds an end portal. I could have sworn the end portals usually spawn inside of strongholds, not just inside of random caves. Well, the speedrunner places in their eyes of ender and enters the end. Once they're in the end, they're faced with a severe problem. Their platform is way too high up, and the speedrunner is only on 5 hearts. And I honestly don't think there's any way for them to jump down onto the island without dying. So if they die, I think everyone should probably subscribe. Well, the speedrunner has no option but to just simply jump, and that's exactly what they do, but they just die. So I guess that means that everyone has to subscribe. The speedrunner starts by immediately building themselves a nether portal. Once in the nether, they're right above a fortress. And for some reason in the fortress is an Enderman. The speedrunner kills the Enderman, but then suddenly there are two blazers trying to kill the speedrunner. Wait, what? Mario, where did you come from? Okay then. The speedrunner uses their ender pearl, and Mario uses the blaze rods, and they throw them in the air to create an Eye of Ender. Once the speedrunner gets to the stronghold, they place in the Eyes of Ender and enter the end. They also instantly kill the Ender Dragon by throwing a sword at its face. And that's how the speedrunner wins the speedrun. Oh wait, this is the wrong footage. Oh my god, I am so sorry. I am super duper close to 30,000 subscribers, so if you could subscribe, that would honestly make my entire day. This speedrun starts pretty normal with the speedrunner immediately mining a tree. They mine 4 logs when they suddenly dig straight down and find a chest. But listen to the reason why the speedrunner dug down in the first place.
Alright, I think that's enough wood. I'm gonna go mine for some stone now. Oh wait, a chest? I was not expecting a chest to be here.
Yeah, apparently they were trying to mine some stone but accidentally found the chest. I don't know if I believe them because I don't think random chests spawn here in the first place. But the speedrunner opens the chest and finds an iron pickaxe. So they take the iron pickaxe and build out of the hole. That's when the speedrunner realizes that they spawned right next to a village.
Oh, and I'm right next to a freaking village. This is the most luckiest spawn ever.
So the speedrunner heads towards the village and they enter the first house, which has a barrel. But for some reason, the barrel has nothing inside of it. And the speedrunner says this.
Ooh, a barrel? Well, let's see if this barrel has anything inside of it. Oh, nothing? Okay, wait a minute.
They exit the barrel, then reopen it, and there's suddenly full diamond armor inside of the barrel. Which I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea how the heck they did that. And this is the speedrunner's excuse for there being full diamond armor inside of that barrel.
I think the full diamond armor was just glitched, so that's why it wasn't in there.
Yeah, I'm sure it was just a glitch. Speedrunner then goes inside of some houses and steals some beds, which is actually a pro speedrunner strategy. The speedrunner finds some hay bales and starts mining them, which I honestly thought they were gonna use for food, but the speedrunner says this instead.
We're also gonna need some hay bales for the hay bale clutching.
Apparently he's gonna use the hay bales for hay bale clutching, so I think this speedrunner doesn't even realize that you can use hay bales for food as well. Well, right after this, we can see a wandering trader inside of this village. Now, at first, this might not seem like a big deal, until you realize that wandering traders only spawn after 14 days of the world being up, which is like 2 hours in real time. So if the speedrunner just started the world, there should be no reason that there's a wandering trader here. The speedrunner then finds a ruin portal, and if you've ever seen a ruin portal before, you know that this is not a real ruin portal. Because not only is the ruin portal already finished, there's also no lava or magma blocks. But the speedrunner opens a chest and finds a flint and steel. So they light the nether portal and enter the nether. Once in the nether, they look around and find a hole filled with striders, which has gotta be the weirdest thing I think I've ever seen. But then the speedrunner suddenly says this.
Them silly striders. Well, I'm gonna need some gold to trade with the strider.
Yeah, apparently they're gonna need some gold to trade with striders. Even though I thought the only way that you can trade with striders is if you give them a dragon egg. But maybe they added this in the newest update. The speedrunner then says they're just gonna simply mine some netherrack, and then this happens.
Well, I'm just gonna mine for some netherrack so I can try to find gold. Oh, gold? Oh my god, right behind the netherrack? That's so lucky, and there's so much gold.
Yeah, apparently there's just random gold blocks behind this netherrack, which I'm gonna be honest, I don't believe that for a single second. Well, there was a lot of gold blocks, so the speedrunner now has like over 100 gold ingots, and they drop an entire stack on the striders. The speedrunner then says they're gonna leave.
Alright, I'll be right back. You guys better have the goodest trades ever when I get back.
And when they come back, something strange happens.
Alright guys, I'm back. Let's see if you guys have any good trades for me. Oh my goodness, 27 Eyes of Ender? You guys are so nice, thank you.
The striders gave them 27 Eyes of Ender, which I didn't even know was possible. But the speedrunner goes back to the portal and leaves the nether. Once they're back in the overworld, they throw their Eye of Ender to try to find where their stronghold is. They then find this normal looking tree and say this.
Oh wait a minute, that is a cool looking tree over there. I'm gonna check if there is a stronghold beneath the tree, because I feel like it.
Oh, I swear to God, if there is a stronghold beneath this tree, I'm actually going to flip. Well, they dig straight down next to the tree and find independent end portal.
Oh my god, there is! That is so lucky!
Oh yeah, I'm sure that is so lucky, wow. Well, they just place in the Eyes of Ender and enter the end. But once you're in the end, for some reason, there are tons of Ender Dragons.
Oh no!
The speedrunner then tries critting out the Ender Dragons, but they're doing no damage, so they placed on the bed that they got from the village and just blow themselves up, and their reaction is priceless.
Take this bed! Oh.
And I'm pretty sure they just give up on the speedrun because it just ends here. The speedrun starts right next to a village. They immediately head into the village and just run in a straight line until they suddenly pick up an iron axe. But if we put the footage in slow-mo, we can see that the iron axe literally fell from the sky, which in case you couldn't tell is obviously not legit. The speedrunner then uses this iron axe to go inside of several of the villagers' houses and steal all of their beds, which is actually a good speedrunner strategy as they can use those beds to kill the Ender Dragon. Once they have 4 beds, they enter another house which has a chest, and inside of it is the most random loot I think I have ever seen. Like, what the heck is he gonna do with literally any of this? Well, the speedrunner takes all of this loot and then leaves the house. The speedrunner goes in 3rd person, and that's when they spot a cave. They enter the cave, which has a spawner with tons of chickens. Don't get me wrong, spawner rooms are a thing inside of Minecraft, they just never have chickens inside of them. Well, the speedrunner starts going on a chicken killing rampage, and that's when they realize that there's actually ender chests instead of normal chests. So speedrunner opens it and finds full netherite armor, which is obviously completely fake. Well, fake or not, the speedrunner takes all of the armor and the sword and kills more chickens. The speedrunner tries to leave the spawner room, but they have no blocks to get out. That's when suddenly their netherite sword easily breaks the cobblestone, which I didn't even know was a thing. They leave the cave and start exploring more of the village. But that's when they find this super duper long path. So of course the speedrunner follows the path, and as they're on the path, we can see this floating carrot. And it looks like whoever's holding the carrot is eating it apparently, until the carrot suddenly vanishes. Well, they ignore that and go down the path some more until they find this ruin portal. So the speedrunner goes up to the chest of the ruin portal and finds some pretty normal loot, other than the fact that there's an odd amount of obsidian here. The speedrunner takes the loot, and turns out that this obsidian was the exact amount they needed to finish the ruin portal. But I'm sure that the speedrunner just got extremely lucky. But they use the fire charge that they got from the ruin portal and light the nether portal. Once the speedrunner is in the nether, they find this extremely long red vine. So of course the speedrunner goes up the vine, and then even use their horn as they're climbing it. Once they get to the top, there's really nothing here. That's when tons of Eyes of Ender start falling from the sky, which I'm pretty sure I heard about was in the newest update. So believe it or not, this part is actually legit. The speedrunner then picks up all of the Eyes of Ender until they have 27 Eyes of Ender, which I'm pretty sure is more than enough Eyes of Ender. They then start heading down the vine and go back through the nether portal. Once they're back in the overworld, they throw their Eyes of Ender to see where the stronghold is. Wait, why are they going in the opposite direction? But the speedrunner just starts swimming in the water for some reason, and then they suddenly fall into a hole which has an end portal. Not only that, there are tons of signs with the most random things on the sign. Now, I'm not gonna read them all, but you can pause it and look at it, because these signs are just crazy. They place in the Eyes of Ender and enter the end. Once they're in the end, they find this weird hay bale parkour, which I'm gonna be honest, looks pretty easy. But the speedrunner goes for the first jump and fails it. Wait, never mind, they made it. I think I just saw the footage wrong or something. They then do the rest of the parkour pretty darn easily until they get to the main island. Now, before we get into this dragon fight, I'm gonna be honest, this is the weirdest fight I've ever seen. Because, spoiler alert, the speedrunner doesn't hit the dragon a single time, but they somehow win the speedrun by killing the Ender Dragon. Well, they start by just standing still and swinging at tons of end crystals, which for some odd reason just break. And they do this to literally every single end crystal in the entire end. Now, once all of the end crystals are broken, they do the same thing to the Ender Dragon. But the thing is, we can see a sword literally chasing the Ender Dragon down, hitting it over and over again. And even at one point, their potion effect wears off, and we can see this guy inside of Creative just flying around smacking the Ender Dragon. They make themselves go back to being invisible. The speedrunner just keeps sitting there swinging as if they're actually hitting the Ender Dragon when they're clearly not. And eventually the Ender Dragon just dies and the speedrunner wins the speedrun. The speedrun starts inside of a Savannah biome. And surprisingly, things are pretty normal. They look around to see if they have a good spawn and they don't really see anything. So they begin by mining a tree. They mine a few logs and turn those logs into planks. They then make themselves a crafting table and sticks and use a crafting table to make themselves a wooden pickaxe. They break their crafting table to take it with them, and that's when they find a ruined portal. But for some reason, the speedrunner turns around to start beating up this weird ball thingy, and then they actually decide to go to the ruined portal. The speedrunner opens the chest and finds some pretty normal loot other than the fact that there's a piece of iron inside here. And ruined portals never have iron, so this is actually pretty confusing. But they take the loot from the chest and use the flint and the iron to make themselves a flint and steel. They then place the 4 obsidian to block off the lava, and then they light the portal. Once they're in the nether, they look around and they realize that they got a terrible nether spawn. But then if I pause it right here, do you see anything suspicious? Cause I do. Alright, if you don't see it, it's actually this red thing that is just randomly placed all by itself. So the speedrunner goes right up to it, breaks it, and breaks the block beneath it to find a chest, which has tons of blaze rods and ender pearls. The speedrunner takes all of the loot and uses the blaze rods to turn into blaze powder and make themselves some eyes of ender. They then go back through the portal and start going in a random direction. That's where they find this stone wall that they randomly start mining for no reason. As they begin digging straight down, they find a hole which has a stronghold. Not only this, there's also a sign that says stronghold, just in case, you know, we couldn't tell it was a stronghold. Yeah. The speedrunner places in all of the eyes of ender and enters the end. Once they're in the end, they realize that they're stuck in a box, so they use their wooden pickaxe to break out and use their extra ender pearl to throw it, and once it lands, the speedrunner starts heading towards the ender dragon. But that's when they come up with this absolutely 200 IQ play. They place their end stone in a weird shape that honestly makes me a little bit hungry. Wait, what? Where they go up to their thing that they made, and a very clear cut happens, and the ender dragon is now dead somehow, which of course isn't suspicious at all. Well, now that the ender dragon is dead, the speedrunner wins the speedrun, I guess. This first speedrun starts off pretty normal because they're right next to a village. And the first thing they do is run into the village and steal some farmers' crops. Once they finish stealing all of the food, they suddenly see a panda. But the thing is, pandas only spawn inside of super hot biomes, like the desert or the nether. So a panda being right here is extremely rare. Well, the speedrunner picks up an egg dropped from a chicken and throws it right at the iron golem, which does not make him very happy, as he starts chasing down the speedrunner. So in fear, the speedrunner runs away until they finally go in a house which has a chest. Now, at first, this would seem pretty normal until you realize that this specific house inside of a village never has any chests, which makes me believe that they placed down this chest here before the speedrun started. And this is even more proven because whenever they open the chest, they find some weird loot, like an iron pickaxe, an iron helmet, an iron sword, 1 iron ingot, and iron pants. Loot that could only spawn if this was a blacksmith. So this loot has to be fake. Well, they take all of this loot, put on the iron armor, and go around the village a little bit more until they find an actual blacksmith. And in the chest is a calibrated skulk sensor. I'm not even gonna lie, I didn't even know that was a thing. Where they take this calibrated skulk sensor and start heading out of the village. That's when they suddenly see a ruined portal down in this river. So the speedrun safely makes their way down the hill, and once they make it to the ruined portal, they open the chest and find some actually pretty normal loot. They take all of this loot and use the flint that they got from this ruined portal and the iron ingot to make themselves a flint and steel. They also got 1 obsidian from the chest, which is the exact right amount they needed for the ruined portal, which you could argue is just a coincidence, but I'm honestly not too sure. They finish the ruined portal and go into the nether. Now, once they're in the nether, they get a pretty lucky spawn because they spawned right next to a fortress. But instead of going inside the fortress, the speedrunner instead decides to dig on the side of it. That's when they suddenly find some gold blocks. And trust me, there is a lot of gold blocks. They get them all, which is like 13 stacks of gold blocks, and they make them into gold ingots. They then dig open this hole to reveal tons of piglins, which is definitely not scripted at all. They then drop all of their gold ingots onto the piglins and leave them there as they go adventure into the fortress. Now, before they really get into the fortress, some weird stuff is going on because we can see tons of random holes throughout the entirety of the fortress, which I believe is actually a trail. And I have a weird feeling that this trail is gonna lead them to the blaze spawner. And if my guess is correct, I would highly recommend subscribing. Well, the speedrunner follows the trail for quite some time until eventually they find the blaze spawner, which means I was right and you should honestly subscribe because it genuinely helps me out so much. Now, for some reason, the blazes aren't really spawning at this blaze spawner, so the speedrunner digs out the holes so that way blazes can actually spawn. And once they do, the speedrunner starts killing them. And on their first 2 kills, they get 2 blaze rods, which is not impossible, but extremely lucky. Because we all know someone else who got extremely lucky with some blaze rods, where they continue to just keep on fighting all the blazes until something very, very weird happens. Because the speedrunner gets extremely low and even down to half a heart. But a sudden cut happens, and we can see all of the loot moved around, and they also magically gained almost a full level of XP, which doesn't usually happen. So my guess here is that the speedrunner died, but decided to instead cut it out. But the speedrunner starts making their way back towards their nether portal. But this is when I realized something very suspicious. Because right before the cut happened, the speedrunner had 4 blaze rods, and now they have 6. So I also feel as though they gave themselves some blaze rods, which is actually against the rules of speedrunning. But once they finally make it back towards their portal, they go to check their trades with the piglins. And to say the trades were not very good would be an understatement, because they only got 5 ender pearls, and they need at most 12. So instead of trading some more with the piglins, they instead just leave the nether. Now that they're back in the overworld, they start exploring in some completely random direction. And if I paused the video here and told you that something suspicious was in this screenshot, you would probably think I'm lying, because at first glance it seems pretty normal. That is until we see this little patch of pumpkins. Because whenever the speedrunner goes up to the pumpkins, they go to this very specific pumpkin and dig straight down below it. That's when they find themselves in the stronghold. Yeah, this definitely looks like a real stronghold. There's even a sign that says Ral Stronghold, so it's gotta be real. Okay, the speedrunner at least tried to make it seem like it was a real stronghold, but I'm gonna be honest, this is absolutely terrible. The speedrunner opens up their inventory, and we can see that they now have 12 ender pearls, even though whenever they were trading, they only had 5. So I guess at some point during the speed run, they must have given themselves some ender pearls, where they make themselves some eyes of ender and place in all of the eyes and enter the end. To say this end fight was close would honestly be generous, because the speedrunner doesn't hit the ender dragon a single time. They instead start randomly building up and build this weird structure out of obsidian and crying obsidian, and even place down their skulk sensor. They then start punching their skulk sensor until they suddenly type inside chat /kill@A. But before they do that, they change their game mode to creative, and then they type it, because this is supposed to kill every entity inside of the game. And if the speedrunner is in creative, it won't kill them, right? Well, actually wrong, because the speedrunner types in this command and it actually kills him. And at this point, the speedrunner is just mad, so they just give up and the speedrun just ends there. The speedrunner starts by mining a tree, but the tree is falling. Okay. Well, they then go into a cave and open an emerald. Wait, what? Oh my god, this is the wrong footage. I am so sorry. If you could do me a huge favor and subscribe, that would genuinely make my day. This speedrunner starts by choosing their world, and they go to click on a world that they already created. And if we look closely, the world says it's in creative. Not only that, but there's also cheats, which is against the rules of speedrunning, where the speedrunner clicks on the world, and once they spawn in, their spawn seems pretty normal. That is until they turn around and they're in a village. They start heading around the village, and for some reason, the villagers are growing birch trees. I've never heard of that before, but maybe it's in the newest update, where the speedrunner goes inside of a pen where there's a cow and a tree, and they start mining the tree. They mine some logs, and underneath the last log is actually a chest. So the speedrunner opens the chest, which has full diamond armor and some diamond tools, which if you ask me is 100% legit. They take all the armor and the tools and put on the armor, and then they start spam clicking on the iron golem. But if we look back at the very start of the speedrun, they were on version 1.20, which means that spam clicking doesn't even do any damage. So the speedrunner sits here for a very long time, constantly hitting the iron golem until eventually it dies. They pick up the iron and then head inside of a house to steal one singular potato. Don't ask me why, because I have no idea. They begin heading out of the village until they find a lava pool and a nether portal that's already lit for some reason. So like any normal person, they're obviously gonna go inside of the portal. And the speedrunner got a lucky spawn because they're in the fortress. So they start heading down the path of the fortress until they find a chest and a sign. And the sign says happy birthday. So I guess it's the speedrunner's birthday. And inside the chest is some eyes of ender. Dang, this is one lucky speedrunner. They take all the eyes of ender, and as they turn, we can see an end portal in the nether, which is very strange. But the speedrunner makes their way back towards the portal and enters the overworld. Once they're back in the overworld, they find this waterfall. So of course they climb it and they swim into the hole where they find this secret base. And there's also a lectern with a book. The speedrunner clicks on the book, and the book says, "Congratulations." I didn't even know that was a word, but okay. "You did found the Mr. PP the Great's Jr. the Second the Great's secret base. This base is a secret base." Wow, it's a good thing they said this base is a secret base 2 separate times back to back, or else I would have had no idea. Good job, Mr. Speedrunner. To find the end
end portal, you must first do riddle on the next page. The riddle is on the next page. Once again, they said it 2 times, just in case we forgot it was on the next page like 2 seconds later. Well, the speedrunner goes to the next page, and it says, what you looked for is under the lectern thingy. And there's also a hint that says it's under the lectern.
Even though this riddle was super duper hard, the speedrunner figures it out and breaks underneath the lectern to find whatever monstrosity this is. It's like an end portal, but it's not. I don't really know. Well, either way, the speedrunner jumps into it. They start building up and head towards the middle of the island. That's when we realize that there are no Endermen. Not only that, but there's also no Ender Dragon. And the portal is already lit. But instead of going inside of it like a normal speedrunner would, they instead click on the egg. They then grab a torch and place it under the egg, so that way they now have the egg. But instead of leaving the end with the egg, they instead travel towards the edge of the map and throw the only egg in the entire game of Minecraft off the edge. You have to be a lunatic to do that. Well, now that they did that, they go towards the portal and just simply beat the speedrun. Now, this first speedrun is very interesting to say the least, as the speedrunner sees an ocean right in front of them, so they start running right towards it. But inside of the ocean is what my real question is, and I'll let the speedrunner tell you what's inside the ocean.
There's an ocean. Oh my god, is that a pirate ship? Let's go.
I've never heard anyone call a shipwreck a pirate ship, but I guess technically they're not wrong. I don't really know. Well, the speedrunner jumps into the ocean and finds a chest which has some pretty normal loot, like some paper, an iron nugget, and even some feathers. Everything that seems legit in my eyes. So they take all of this loot and go back up to get some air, to then go back into the shipwreck and find another chest that has some normal loot, like coal, carrots, rotten flesh, and 5 obsidian, you know, like the normal loot. Alright, for real though, 5 obsidian seems kind of suspicious, I can't lie, because if you consider the fact that obsidian literally cannot spawn inside of shipwrecks, it makes this part of the speedrun just a tiny bit suspicious, I can't lie. Well, the spinner takes most of the loot because for some reason they leave behind the 5 obsidian, which at first I thought was extremely strange. That was until the spinner went back towards their spawn and started mining a tree when they said this.
Alright, we need...
Yeah, the speedrunner realized that they left the obsidian behind, which I'm gonna be honest is kind of embarrassing. Well, the speedrunner goes back into the shipwreck and takes their 5 obsidian. Once they're back on land, they make themselves a crafting table and some sticks. They even turn all their iron nuggets into iron ingots. And this next part is just hilarious, because the speedrunner has no idea how the heck to make a shield.
Is that not how you make a shield? What the heck? How the heck do you make a shield? Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah, let's just pretend like that didn't just happen. Well, they also make themselves an iron sword and they break their crafting table. The speedrunner then just starts yapping like crazy until they find a ruin portal.
Alright, so far this is a pretty good start for my speedrun so far. It's good start. Oh, ruin portal!
Yeah, they found a ruin portal and they start heading towards it until they open the chest. And once again, they find normal loot. At this point, I thought the speedrunner was trying to make it not too obvious the speedrun was fake, or at least that's what I thought, until this happened.
Alright, let me use my obsidian real quick. Hopefully I have enough. Oh my god, the exact right amount? That is so lucky!
Yeah, what are the chances they had the exact right amount of obsidian that they needed to finish the ruin portal? Now, you could just say they got extremely lucky, but I think otherwise. The spinner then lights the portal and places down their crafting table to make themselves some golden boots. They then head straight into the nether. But wait, did you know that this speedrunner is subscribed? If I'm being honest, you should probably be too.
Alright, I hope I got a good nether spawn. Oh my god, is that a blaze? Oh, there's a fortress right there!
Yeah, they somehow found a fortress, but from this angle, it doesn't really look like it's a fortress. Well, the speedrunner starts fighting the blazes, and this part was extremely hilarious.
Get pooping on! Get pooping on! Holy moly, macaroni! Why are you guys trying so hard? Calm down! Oh my god, let me just kill you! Oh! Take that! Oh, I'm gonna die! I'm actually gonna die! Oh my god! Skeleton, get over here! Let me kill you! Take that! Oh my goodness gracious!
The speedrunner was absolutely struggling to kill these blazes and even the skeleton. And this is probably because they literally only have golden boots for armor. And at one point, the speedrunner gets down to like 3 HP, but of course they have a golden apple to help save them. They then start fighting the blazes and actually end up killing some. That is, until they have 3 blaze rods and they say this.
Alright, I think 3 is enough blaze rods for me. I'm not gonna do this anymore. I give up.
If you know anything about speedrunning, you know that 3 blaze rods is definitely not enough to be able to go to the end. The speedrunner then makes her way back towards the nether portal, but then it sounds like they start crying because the blazes are shooting at them again.
I said I give up. Leave me alone. Please.
Now I honestly kind of feel bad for the speedrunner, or at least I did feel bad until he said this.
Alright, hopefully whenever I go to the portal, I have more blaze rods because that's a super lucky thing that happens sometimes.
I've never heard of the super lucky thing that happens sometimes when you go through the portal and end up with more blaze rods. Well, guess what? They go through the portal and end up with more blaze rods.
Alright guys, I'm back. Oh my god, I got so lucky that I barely survived. Oh, look at that, 7 blaze rods as well. Oh my goodness, I'm so lucky.
You actually can't make this up. Also, as soon as they got back into the overworld, it said inside chat that they turned their game mode into survival, which proves that they were inside of creative. Well, I also think that the speedrunner hates nighttime because they say this.
Oh, dang it, it's becoming nighttime. Give me a second. Oh, wow, it's daytime. What the heck? How did that happen?
Yeah, I wonder how that happened, huh? Well, the speedrunner then says that they're gonna go mining for some stone.
I think I'm gonna try to go mining for some stone all the way down in this cave.
But as they go deeper into the cave, they find something very, very strange.
Oh my goodness, what the heck? There's so many Endermen.
There are so many Endermen for some reason, and not only that, for some reason, they're just not moving. So I guess the Enderman just must be AFK or something, because I'm honestly confused.
I'm looking in your eyes. Haha, looking in your eyes. Dummy head. Get crit. What the heck?
Yeah, apparently while the Endermen are AFK, they're also invincible. So instead of critting the Enderman, the speedrunner pulls out a bow and just starts bow spamming them and eventually even hits themselves.
What the heck? They're hacking. They're literally hacking, you freaking cheater. I just hit myself.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, I'm gonna be honest. Well, the speedrunner now has no way of getting themselves some ender pearls. Or at least that's what I thought until this happens.
But you know what? Whatever. I don't need the ender pearls anyway because, bam, I already have 12. Haha.
If we look at any point during the speedrun, they 100% never had any ender pearls. So I'm genuinely confused how they got them. Well, now that they have ender pearls, they start making themselves some eyes of ender, but I don't think they know how.
Alright, and now we make what the heck? What? I knew that. Don't worry, I knew that.
Yeah, I'm very sure you knew that, Well, now that they have eyes of ender, they go out of the cave and start looking around for a little bit. That is, until they find this very weird looking tree thing.
Alright, oh my god, what the heck? This tree thingy looks so weird. What the heck? That's so amazing and cool and weird.
So they start digging straight down in the middle of it, and before they even find stone, they find diamonds, which I could have sworn spawns way deeper than this.
Oh, it's a good thing I have 3 irons so I can make an iron pickaxe. I can mine it.
They said it was a good thing they had 3 iron ingots. But if we go back to whenever they were inside of the cave, they only had 2. So where did they get this extra iron ingot? Well, they then make themselves an iron pickaxe and mine all of the diamonds, which eventually gives them 8 diamonds. So they use those 8 diamonds to give themselves a diamond chestplate. They also leave their crafting table in the hole for some reason.
No, Captain Tibble, you can stay there. I don't want you anymore.
And they wander around a little bit more until they say this.
Alright, since that last cave was weird, I'm gonna go to this cave instead because, oh my god!
Yeah, they found an already lit end portal, which only has a 69% chance of spawning, so this is actually extremely rare.
The end portal's already lit, so I didn't even need these stupid dummy things.
Now that they throw away their unneeded eyes of ender, they then jump into the portal, and now that they're in the end, we can see that the ender dragon is already losing some health, which alone is very suspicious. Not only that, as they make their way towards the ender dragon, we can see this weird pile of what seems to be poop. And it also has a sign, but we cannot see what's on the sign. Where the speedrunner starts critting out the ender dragon until they get flung into the air.
Oh my god!
And I'm not even joking, right here the speedrun ends. And that's it. So I guess the speedrunner lost? I don't know. This first speedrun starts right next to a village, as we can see what appears to be a blacksmith right next to them. They begin to head towards the village, and they enter this first house. But watch carefully for what happens whenever they open this chest. As we can see, they looted the chest, giving them some bread, some saplings, an apple, and even a book. So how do they have 3 ink sacs? Well, if we rewind the footage, we can see another player's arm through this window, and this person drops the speedrunner the ink sacs. But I'm confused why the speedrunner even needs ink sacs to begin with. Well, they leave this house and begin going towards the blacksmith. And before they open the chest, this is where things get very, very weird. Because inside of the chest is so many diamonds. So they take everything out of
of the chest and leave the blacksmith. They find some hay bales and begin taking all of the hay bales. Once they're finished doing that, they begin to enter another house. But wait, if we rewind the footage, we can see that this house door was already open, which typically never happens because villagers always close the door behind them, which means the speedrunner must have left this door open on accident. Once they're inside the house, they look at the roof, and out of nowhere, they're in a crafting table, which is genuinely just confusing. But the speedrunner turns their hay bales into wheat, and the wheat into bread. They then use their diamonds to make themselves basically full diamond armor, except for a helmet. They put on the diamond armor and leave the house. And instead of exploring more of the village, the speedrunner begins to leave the village. They begin walking down this river until they see a ruined portal in front of them. But once again, if we rewind the footage, we can see that for some reason, there is just a breeze sitting here, which is actually a mob in the newest update. And they don't just randomly spawn above ground like this, because they can only spawn in end cities, which makes the fact of this breeze being here very, very confusing. Well, they completely ignore it and just head towards the ruined portal. They open the chest and find a god apple, which, don't get me wrong, it is possible. It is just extremely rare. They take the rest of the loot inside the chest as well. They then just look at the ruined portal, then turn around, then turn back around, and the portal is suddenly fixed, which I have a weird suspicion could have been that player that we saw earlier. The speedrunner then goes through the portal, and once they're in the nether, they begin mining a tree. And everything seems normal at first until they suddenly get dropped some blaze rods. But it doesn't stop there, because they also get dropped some ender pearls as well, which once again, I believe is the player that we saw earlier. They then access their inventory and turn their blaze rods into blaze power to make themselves some eyes of ender. Now that they have eyes of ender, they go back into the portal to go into the overworld. Now instead of throwing their ender eyes like a normal speedrunner would, they begin randomly walking around until they find a random hole which they go inside of, and what the heck? This is the most random stuff I have ever seen, where the speedrunner just places in the eyes of ender and enters the end. Once they're in the end, they just walk around normally until some arrows and a bow randomly fall from the sky. Now that the speedrunner has a bow and arrow, they can break all of the end crystals. But the speedrunner is shooting like 2 feet in front of them, but the end crystals are somehow breaking. And they do this over and over again until eventually all of the end crystals break. And if you thought these shenanigans would stop there, you're completely wrong, because they do this against the ender dragon as well, constantly shooting 2 blocks in front of them, but the ender dragon is somehow taking damage. And eventually the ender dragon dies and the speedrunner wins the speedrun. This speedrun starts pretty normal until we can see the speedrunner's friend inside chat. But whenever you speedrun, you're only allowed to speedrun by yourself, which means this speedrun is probably going to be fake. The speedrunner's friend mines a tree, but it took them 0.8 seconds to mine it, when trees typically take 1 second to mine. So I think the speedrunner's friend has efficiency on their hand or something. Well, they make a wooden pickaxe and mine all day long. It's now nighttime, so a zombie begins attacking them, but the speedrunner's friend has a torch, so they survive. The speedrunner finds a village and begins trading with a villager, but the villager has some terrible trades. So the speedrunner tries to punch them, but an iron golem comes out of nowhere, and he is not happy. The speedrunner gets absolutely destroyed by the iron golem. Oh wait, this is the wrong footage. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. It is literally my dream to one day reach 100,000 subscribers, and I'm not even halfway there. So if you could help me get one step closer towards my dream, that would genuinely make my entire day. This speedrun seems like it's pretty professional because they start with a timer in the top corner. But once they load in, they start in their 4th hotbar slot, which is an immediate sign that the speedrun could be fake because you always start in your 1st hotbar slot. But the speedrunner turns around and finds a pyramid. They break some dead bushes on their way towards the pyramid, ultimately giving them 8 sticks. Well, they enter the pyramid and break a block, and once the block breaks, they land down below. They open the first chest, which has normal loot. They take the gold and a sand block and open the next chest, which also has normal loot. They open the 3rd chest, which also has normal loot, but there is also a diamond, which is a pretty lucky thing to get out of a pyramid chest. But as soon as they get the diamond, we can see inside chat that they got the achievement diamonds, which means if they did indeed go inside a creative and place this diamond inside there, they would have already gotten the achievement beforehand. So that means that they never placed the diamond inside this chest, and it's actually legit. But the speedrunner opens the next chest and finds some more diamonds. Not only that, but there's also a golden chest plate, and golden chest plates cannot naturally spawn inside of pyramid chests. So maybe the diamonds weren't fake, but the golden chest plate definitely is. The speedrunner takes the diamonds, some blocks, and the golden chest plate. They then use the blocks to build out of the pyramid. They then begin wandering in a random direction until they suddenly see a village on their left and a ruined portal on their right. But before they go to either one, they first mine a tree. They mine 3 logs and make themselves a crafting table. They then place on the crafting table and make themselves a diamond pickaxe.
pickaxe. They start heading towards the ruin portal, and once they're there, they look for a chest, but they cannot find it. So instead, they clear out the lava and begin mining the crying obsidian so they can actually form a portal. They mine 2 crying obsidian, and then they mine the corner block of the portal and place it at the top. They take the gold block, and they start digging around to try and find the chest. And eventually, they find it. But the chest only has 2 obsidian, and normally a ruin portal chest would have a lot more stuff than just 2 obsidian. Well, either way, they take the 2 obsidian and finish the portal, but they don't have a flint and steel. But they close your inventory and reopen it and find a flint and steel, which somehow even duplicates. So now they have 2. Now, if you were expecting me to explain how they somehow did that, I'm sorry, I have no idea how they did that. But they light the portal and enter the nether. Once in the nether, they look around and they realize that they got a pretty bad spawn. But that's when they suddenly start digging in the wall. They start by building a staircase up and eventually just start digging straight. They do this for a decent amount of time until they somehow find themselves inside of a bastion. And there's a lot of brutes coming for them. So they start by hitting their feet, and then they use their flint and steel to light all the brutes on fire. Eventually, they all die, and the speedrunner can now loot the chests, which have some normal loot other than the fact that there's some ender pearls inside of them, which is of course not normal loot. They take the ender pearls and some other loot as well, and then they loot the second chest, which also has ender pearls, giving them a total of 5 ender pearls. They then begin making their way back towards their tunnel, and they go back into the portal even though they don't have blaze rods. Once they're back in the overworld, they start running in the direction where they believe they saw the village from before. Eventually, they do find it, but they also find a weird sand path that goes across the lake right here, which is very obviously not naturally generated. The speedrunner does some very cool block placements, which makes me believe that they're actually good at speedrunning. So the fact that they're cheating is genuinely just confusing. They also do some weird bridging for literally no reason. I guess they're just trying to show off or something. Once they're in the village, they start by mining some hay bales, and they go around the village a little bit, and we can see tons and tons of iron golems. Even though each village inside of Minecraft usually only has 1 iron golem. The speedrunner suddenly mines a wall and opens a barrel to find 5 blaze powder, which is obviously fake. They take the 5 blaze powder and mine through a village's fence and into their grass just to find an end portal under their house, which of course is only missing 5 eyes of ender. So the speedrunner goes in their inventory and makes 5 eyes of ender and places in all the eyes to enter the end. Once on the end, there's already a hole for them to go up, so they place down blocks until they're at the top. And this part of the speed run is very weird because as we can see, there are tons of endermen, there's just no ender dragon. And instead of going in the portal, the speedrunner spams random blocks and then they go in the portal. And they finish with a time of 7 minutes and 43 seconds, giving them the new world record. First speedrun starts right next to a desert village. So speedrunner starts heading towards the village and begins breaking wheat for some bread. Once they get 8 hay bales, they enter a house which for some reason has a turtle, even though I'm pretty sure turtles only spawn inside of the end. So the fact that there's a turtle right here is a little bit suspicious. Well, they punch the turtle and then leave the house. They then enter another house, but wait, if we rewind the footage and stop it here, we can see that the door was already open. But if they started a new world, a door would not already be open because villagers always open and then close the door behind them. Well, the speedrunner goes into the house and breaks the beds, which is actually a pro speedrunner strategy. They then open the chest, which actually has some normal loot. They take the bread from the chest and leave the house. They make their way towards another house, which has a door that's already opened. And once again, they take the beds and open the chest, and oh my goodness, why is there so much bread? Okay, well, they take all the bread and they now have 48 bread. I think that's enough food for a speedrun. They leave the house and wander around the village a little bit more until they enter a house which has a crafting table. They turn their hay bales into wheat, and they now have over a stack of wheat. But for some reason, they only make 1 bread. Okay then. They leave the house and use their insane parkour skills to jump across this cave. And that's when they find another house. But if I pause it here, there is something very strange about this house. And if you didn't immediately see it, you need to get your eyes checked, because the door is literally a spruce door. When if we look back at all the other houses, they were not spruce doors, which if you ask me is very strange. Will speedrunner enters this house and finds an iron pickaxe on the wall, which is actually legit and only has a 69% chance of spawning. They take the iron pickaxe and also take the bed and leave the house. They then jump into the cave and find a giant hole with some water. So they jump into the water and they find some gold. They mine the gold and find a nether portal? Okay. I didn't know nether portals could randomly spawn like this. But there is a problem. The speedrunner doesn't have a flint and steel. So how the heck are they possibly gonna light the nether portal? Wait, what? Did you guys just watch what I just watched? Yeah, I had to replay this like 11 times and I still have no idea how they did that. Well, now that the nether portal is lit, they enter the nether. And I'm warning you ahead of time, this nether goes crazy because they spawn in a random box. this. Not only that, there's also a sign that says not suspicious barrel, and right next to it is a barrel. So the speedrunner opens the barrel and finds tons of ender eyes. Oh my goodness, you don't even need that many ender eyes. Well, the speedrunner takes all of the ender eyes and leaves the nether, and now that they're back in the overworld, they realize that there is no way they're getting all the way back up because they have no blocks. So they turn around to go back into the nether. Wait, what are they doing? Oh my god, a ladder? The speedrunner climbs all the way up the ladder and breaks the sand at the top. And now they're at the surface of the cave. So they run out of the cave, and that's when I thought that they were gonna go back into the village. But instead, they run in a completely random direction. They keep running in this area for quite some time until they find this. Yup, this is definitely legit. The speedrunner places in all of their eyes of ender, and now that they're in the end, we can see that the ender dragon has literally 0 HP. I don't even know how it's alive. But the speedrunner places a super cool bed trap, and eventually the ender dragon perches. And once it gets close enough, the speedrunner blows up the bed and wins the speedrun in record time. The speedrunner starts right next to an acacia village. They just wander around for a little bit until they start breaking every single bed inside the village. They then somehow one-hit the iron golem, which I didn't even know was possible until I realized that it was literally Shipwreck. So this part actually does make sense. They mine a tree and make themselves a crafting table to make themselves a bucket. They fill their bucket up with water and throw it at a lava pool, and now they have a nether portal? Once I saw this part, I knew the speedrun was fake. Oh wait, I just realized this is the wrong footage. Oh my god, guys, why didn't you tell me? If you guys could just do me a huge favor and just simply subscribe, that would genuinely make my entire day. This next speedrun starts right next to a ruined portal. So the speedrunner starts off by running towards the portal, and once they get there, they open the chest, and the chest has some normal loot, like obsidian, golden carrots, and several golden tools. You know, the normal loot. They take all of this loot, but wait, if we pause it right here, we can see that the sun in the background is setting, which only happens if the world has been up for at least 10 minutes. But we're literally only 20 seconds into the speedrun, which proves that the speedrun is going to be fake. Well, they start mining some netherrack for some blocks, they fill in the rest of the nether portal, and then use their blocks to get rid of the lava. They then use the fire charge to light the portal, and then they enter the nether. Once the speedrunner is inside of the nether, they go to a random corner and then suddenly start digging straight down. But their golden pickaxe breaks, so they have to mine the rest of the netherrack with their fist. And after 20 seconds of mining, they fall into a hole. And this is when they turn on their coordinates. They then begin walking around like the coordinates are actually telling them something, and then they go into a random corner and start digging straight down. And they find a chest, and inside of it is tons of blaze rods. Okay, there is no way the coordinates told them that there was a secret chest right there. The speedrunner takes all of the blaze rods, and they now have 27, which is a lot more than you would typically need for a speedrun. The speedrunner suddenly turns on their coordinates once again, and they walk around some more until they suddenly think that there's something else beneath them. So they dig straight down again and find another chest. But this time, there's ender pearls inside of the chest. Okay, let's be honest, guys. This speedrun is completely cursed, and they now have everything they need to be able to go to the end. So the speedrunner starts making their way all the way back towards their portal, and eventually they make it there. Now that they're in the overworld, they start running around back and forth for a little bit, trying to remember where to go. Eventually they figure it out and throw an ender pearl, and once it lands, they begin mining a tree. They get 6 logs and make it into a crafting table. They then use the crafting table to make themselves a boat, and they also make some doors. They place down their boat into the sea and then turn on their coordinates again, acting like they know what they're doing when, let's be honest, they have no idea what they're doing. They start sailing across the ocean for quite some time until eventually they get out of their boat. They swim down to the ocean floor and place their door. I did not mean to rhyme there, but you know, it sounded cool. They then dig straight down, and now they're right next to an end portal. So the speedrunner turns their blaze rods into blaze powder and makes themselves some eyes of ender. They then place in all of their eyes of ender and enter the end. Once they're in the end, they build up to the main island with some wood that they had, and if we pause it right here, we can see that there are 2 ender pearls just randomly laying there on the ground, which I'm gonna be honest is just simply not possible. Where the speedrunner picks up both of the ender pearls and puts them into their hotbar. But wait, by now we should be able to see the ender dragon's health, but we just simply don't see it, which makes me believe that there's just simply no ender dragon in the end. But the reason I'm saying this now and not a little bit later when it's pretty obvious that there's no ender dragon is because the speedrunner looks into the eyes of an enderman and then throws an ender pearl to try to get away from it, and by some miracle the ender pearl lands directly in the middle of the portal, causing them to see the credits.
minutes. This speedrunner's aim with ender pearls must be absolutely crazy for that to somehow happen. This speedrunner starts in the middle of nowhere, which is usually not the best start for a speedrun. But the speedrunner doesn't care, and they immediately just go over to mine a tree. They take 4 logs from the tree and turn them into planks, and they use those planks to make into a crafting table. The speedrunner then places down their crafting table, makes some sticks, and then makes a sign where they place down the sign and write, "Pea kinda tastes good." What the? Well, they then begin shaking their head up and down. Even though I'm not gonna lie, this speedrunner is a weirdo. They begin running away from the sign and randomly jump into this lake. They swim around for a little bit until they find this weird hole. And inside the hole is the weirdest things I have ever seen in my entire life. We got a broken portal, tons of random buttons, and striders in jail. Like, what the heck is going on? The speedrunner goes over to the striders and then starts punching all of them for literally no reason. They then begin pressing a bunch of random buttons, and then they jump into the portal. Once they're in the end, we can see this very weird path, which I don't think is naturally generated. The speedrunner goes across the path, and eventually they're on the main island. Once there, we can see that there's no Enderman. Not only that, there's no Ender Dragon, but there is a sign that says the Ender Dragon is busy celebrating Christmas. I'm pretty sure we're in July, not December, so this literally makes no sense. Well, the speedrunner ignores that and just jumps into the portal. This speedrun starts out pretty suspicious, because if you look down inside their hotbar, they are inside of their second hotbar slot, even though they're supposed to be in their first one. Not only this, their crosshair is off-centered with the tree in front of them, and you are always looking perfectly straight whenever you start a speedrun. So far, that is already 2 things that we can point out about the speedrun before it even started. The speedrunner immediately runs straight and begins mining the tree. And as the speedrunner is mining the tree, they say this.
Oh wait, there's an iron golem! Another iron golem! Another iron golem! Oh, my iron golem!
Yeah, for some reason inside of this village, there are an insane amount of iron golems. I honestly think they just placed down these iron golems themselves. But the speedrunner mines another log and turns their logs into planks, which they then use to make themselves a crafting table. And they use the crafting table to make themselves a sword. They then use this sword to start critting out the iron golems. But as we can see, the iron golem is not attacking them. This is because whenever you make an iron golem, it doesn't attack the person who made it. So because of this, the speedrunner crits out tons and tons of iron golems and goes back to their crafting table to make themselves an iron sword. Now that they have an iron sword, try and guess what they're going to do. Well, if you guess that they were gonna kill some more iron golems, you're right, because they kill even more iron golems. Once they have 26 pieces of iron, they make themselves full iron armor. They then break their crafting table and even steal some potatoes from this farm. That's when they start heading in a complete random direction. After about 20 seconds, they find a ruin portal. Once they get closer, they open the chest and find surprisingly some pretty normal loot. That's when they suddenly break the chest, and underneath it is another chest, which is genuinely very confusing. Inside the chest is a stack of obsidian, which is definitely real. The speedrunner takes the stack of obsidian, and what's about to happen next makes me convinced that the speedrunner never even went to kindergarten, because they have no idea what a normal rectangle looks like. Because they try building another portal, but of course they absolutely fail. So they try building another portal, and they fail again. But it's okay, because third time is a charm, and they make the nether portal correctly. They then light the nether portal and enter the nether. Once in the nether, they say this.
Oh wait, I have to do something to find the fortress real quick. Give me a second.
Yeah, apparently they have to do something to find the fortress, and that's when they suddenly go inside of creative. They then type inside chat /locate structure fortress, which gives them the exact coordinates to the closest fortress, which in case you couldn't tell is literally cheating. Well, now that they have the coordinates, they start flying over to the fortress until they finally make it.
Oh my god, the fortress is right here!
Now that they're in the fortress, they put themselves back into survival and say this.
Alright guys, I cut it out, but we are now in the fortress.
Well, apparently they were supposed to cut out them going inside of creative, but I guess they forgot. The speedrunner starts going around the fortress, and I genuinely think they're lost. At one point, they even walk past 2 of these piglins and say this.
That was pretty good, my thing.
Yeah, apparently those piglins are in the speedrunner's gang, I guess. And the speedrunner goes around the fortress for another 10 minutes, and they are struggling to find the blaze spawner. That's when they turn their game mode into spectator and say this.
Where the heck is the thingy?
Yeah, they're looking for the thingy, which I'm guessing is the blaze spawner. Eventually, they find the blaze spawner, and they just start randomly punching the blaze spawner with their sword.
Hiya, 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 hiya.
And that's when they look over the edge and say this. What the heck I thought? I think they tried to place down a chest or something here, but it's for some reason gone. That's when the speedrunner realizes that they're at the wrong blaze spawner. So they go back into spectator mode and finds the other blaze spawner and says this.
Alright guys, now I'm at the spawner thing.
They then start punching the blaze spawner again. And then they look over the edge and find a chest.
Boom, I spawned in a chest because I hit the blaze spawner and it spawned a chest.
Yeah, they hit the blaze spawner and it spawned a chest. Okay, I don't know, I'm so confused. But they open the chest and find some blaze rods. So, of course, the speedrunner takes all of the blaze rods, and then they say they're gonna go back towards the portal.
Alright guys, now I'm gonna go back towards the portal.
So, of course, they turn their game mode back into creative, and as they're flying to find their portal, they find this innocent baby Strider and do this.
Oh, baby Strider,
Yeah, this speedrunner's definitely got some issues, I'm not going to lie. Eventually, they do find their portal, they then turn their game mode back into survival, and then they say this.
Alright guys, I made it to the portal. I didn't feel like doing it because it was super long. It was so hard to do it because I'm in survival.
Apparently, they cut it out where they went back towards the portal because it's super boring, and it's hard for them to get back because they're in survival. Yeah, let's just pretend we didn't see them going creative and fly over or anything. That'd be weird. But the speedrunner goes into the portal. Now that they're in the overworld, they head back towards the village and start doing a bunch of completely random things. Like going inside of houses, opening the chests, but not taking anything. They even go inside of one of the houses, which has a birch staircase, which in case you could not tell, is not naturally generated. And that's when they go inside of creative and start digging a random hole for some odd reason. They then start flying in a completely random direction all of a sudden and say this.
I'm gonna fly over here because I feel like it.
Yeah, they're gonna fly over here because they feel like it. Yup, sounds good to me. They continue to fly over in this direction for about 5 minutes until they find a village. And inside the village is a giant pillar.
I did not place that there. I have no idea how it got there.
Yeah, I'm sure the speedrunner definitely did not place that there because they said they didn't, and we have to believe them. The speedrunner makes their game mode back into survival and then says this.
Alright guys, I'm still inside of the same village.
For some reason, they said they're inside of the same exact village from before, but they're obviously not because we watched them fly for literally 5 minutes straight to a completely random village.
I'm gonna see what's inside. Oh, it's like a hole. What the heck? Where does it lead to?
Where does it lead to? Honestly, I'm asking the same question. I'm just gonna take a random guess and say, maybe it's the stronghold. It's just a random guess though, and you know, if I'm right, maybe you guys should probably subscribe. Well, the speedrunner goes inside of creative and then goes straight down the hole, and what do you know? They're in the stronghold. So I guess that means that everyone should, I don't know, probably subscribe. They then turn their game mode into survival, and they say this.
Oh, it's an egg portal. What the heck? Oh, no, wait. I don't have eyes of ender.
Yeah, the speedrunner doesn't have eyes of ender because they never killed any endermen or traded with piglins to be able to get themselves some ender pearls. But don't you worry because then this happens.
Where am I gonna find eyes of ender? Oh my goodness, a chest! Oh, ender pearls! That's exactly what I needed! I'm so lucky!
Wow, you're so lucky. I agree. I'm so proud of you. Yeah. I'm sick and tired of this speedrunner. Can this speedrun just end already? All right, well, the speedrunner takes the ender pearls and puts the blaze rods and the ender pearls inside their inventory, but for some reason, it's not creating eyes of ender. Yeah, this speedrunner literally has no idea how to even make eyes of ender. This is genuinely just embarrassing at this point. Eventually, they figure it out and place in the eyes of ender and enter the end. Once they're in the end, they go to the middle island, and of course, they go back into creative. They then type inside chat /kill at E, which kills the ender dragon, and turn their game mode back into survival and says this.
Oh my god, guys, I killed the ender dragon! Yay! I cut it out because it was probably gonna be boring for you guys, so I didn't want you guys to be bored, so I cut out because the ender dragon.
Yeah, apparently them killing the ender dragon was gonna be boring for us, which is probably the most exciting part of an entire speedrun. But hey, that's just my opinion. Well, now that the ender dragon is dead, the speedrunner goes to the portal and wins the speedrun. If you like that video, I can guarantee that you're gonna like this video as well. So if I were you, I would click on this video.